Welcome to the God Talk Radio, a Christian podcast looking at God's Word as an instruction manual for life on earth. Remember, if all else fails, follow the directions.
Great idea. Life can be difficult, but we have His words to guide us. Let's join Chris right now for the God Talk.
All right, and welcome to the God Talk with the host, Chris Marco. I'm so excited to be continuing this message series. This message series called When I Became a Man. And we're looking at what it truly means to be a man. What it truly means to be a man of God. And so, if you guys have your Bibles today, we're going to be in 1 Corinthians. We're going to be in 1 Corinthians 13, 1-3. And looking at what it means to define yourself as a man. This message is more for men out there who are seeking to be more godly in their approach at life, or more godly in their walk, and what it truly means to be a man. And I'm basing this message series off of the spoken word from Jeremy Clayton. And again, because it's so important to know who God is. And it's so important to know that God has a plan for each and every single one of us. And He is for us, and He is with us. And so we can be a man of God. And looking at just the different people in the Bible who have been called to serve, have been called to be men of God. And so, if you guys have your Bibles, man, blow them off, dust them off, whatever you gotta do to get them open. And again, we're gonna be in 1 Corinthians 13, 1-3. And again, looking at the philosophy of what it truly means to be a man. What it truly means to be a man, because we see that in the Bible, God called one person. He said, "Put down your net, because you're no longer a fisherman, but you're going to be a fisherman. You're going to be a fisherman of men." And so he said to John the Baptist, he said, "You're no longer going to just be a fisherman, no, but you're going to be a fisher of men. You're going to go into the world and show them what it truly means to be a man. Be a man after my own heart. Be a man of God." And so we see that when we look at what it truly means to be a man of God, that means pushing back all the hypocrites, pushing back all the things in our life that aren't going well, pushing back all the things in our life that doesn't make sense. So often we define our manlyhood by how many girls we sleep with, or how many cars we have, or how much money we have. But God says, do not base your philosophy. Do not base your philosophy on this world, on this world's things, but base your philosophy on the teachings that I have taught to you. The teachings I have taught to you in my word. In my word. And again, what it truly means to be a man, defining what it truly means to be a man. And sorry, actually I'm basing off the spoken word from Clayton Jennings. So if you guys want to look him up on YouTube, he has great spoken words. I just love him. He's amazing. And so, if you guys have your Bibles, read along with me. And if you guys don't have your Bibles, that's okay. Just know that I'm very disappointed. And it says this in 1 Corinthians 13, 1-3. It says this. It says, "If I speak with human eloquence, angelic ecstasy, but don't love, I'm nothing but the creaking of a rusty gate. If I speak God's power, revealing all of His mysteries and making everything as plain as day, and I have faith to say to a mountain, jump, and it jumps, but I don't love, I'm nothing. If I give all I own to the poor, even go to the stakes to be burned as a martyr, but don't love, I've got nothing. So, no matter what I say, no matter what I believe, no no matter what I do, I am bankrupt without love. And so we see defining what it truly means to be a man. And one of those defining characteristics is love. Loving your neighbor, loving yourself, loving others, no matter how much it hurts. So often we are criticized for the way that we dress, for the way that we speak, for the way that we live our life. But we have to realize that it's not about what we think, but it's about what God thinks. It's not about what we can do, but what God can do through us. So often we don't know what God can do through us because we are not paying attention to His promises. We're not paying attention to His promises. We are paying attention to what the world is saying. We're paying attention to the things of this world instead of paying attention to God and His examples in life. Recently, I had a friend who told me about their parents and how they didn't like a certain ethnicity. They didn't like a certain race, and I just so happened to be a part of that race. And she said, yeah, my parents, man, they don't like African Americans. Now, I'm not saying that so you guys can go bash them over the head and be like, oh, you don't like us? Oh, well, but I'm using this as a point. As a point to this, it doesn't matter if they like us or not, but it matters what's in our hearts. It doesn't matter if they don't like the race, because so often the reason that we don't like something is because we had a bad experience with it. We had a bad experience with it. It could be the same with food. It could be the same with people. It could be the same with roller coasters, or should I say amusement parks. Whatever it is in our life, it's because we had a bad experience because of it. And so we use that outline as a way to hurt someone. But if we rise above that and we rise above and say, you know what, I'm done being a boy. I'm done letting these things get in my way. I'm done letting what they said get to me. And being a man saying, you know what, I'm going to let these things go. Because it doesn't depend on me. It depends on God. It depends on what He has to say and what He's going to do through me. But I don't know what He's going to do through me if I'm so concerned about what's happening in the now. If I'm so concerned about what's happening in the now, I'm never going to see God's presence. I'm never going to see His glory. Because we're too busy looking at the things that we can't see. We're looking at the things that we can't. But so often the things that we can't see are the things that are most misleading. And so we see that God has a plan for each and every single one of us. And if we listen to what He has to say, we will hear it. If we seek the things of God, we will see it. If we listen for the things of God, we will hear it. And if we reach for the things of God, we will touch it. And so we see that being defined by who you are defines you. But your past doesn't define you. Your history doesn't define you. What people say about you does not define you. You define you. You define who you want to be. You define who you want to be. If you want to be that person that everyone thinks you are, if you want to be everything that everyone's talking about, you're going to be that person because it's what you believe. But if you believe that you are a child of God, if you believe that God has a purpose and a plan in your life, those things do not define you because you truly believe that they don't. And I truly believe the things in my life do not define the person I am now. The things that define me in my life are the people in it. And I wouldn't be where I am now if I didn't have the love of a loving mother. I wouldn't be where I am now if I didn't have the love of a youth pastor. I wouldn't be where I am now if I didn't have people say, you know what, you can't do it. Because, you know, when people say that you can't do it, guess what? I'm one of those people who will be like, hold my beer. Like, they'll be like, you can't do this. You're too old. You're too young. You're too inexperienced. You don't know enough. I turn around and be like, here, hold this. And I show them that I can. So when we have someone who says you cannot be the person that I think you can be, we need to turn around and say, you know what? Watch me. Watch me. If they say, you know what? You're not the person that I think you were. Or you're not the person that I thought you were. Why? Because you worked your butt off to get to the point where people's misconceptions become reality. People's misconceptions about your race, about your ethnicity, about your religion, about your age, about the things that you do in your life, the clothes that you wear. And if you decide that you're not going to let them define who you are, you're not going to let them say to you, yeah, I knew that you were just like all the rest. You have to work your butt off to get to the point where people look at you and say, you know what, I was wrong. And I've had people say that about me. I've had people say that about me because of my race. There are certain things that people believe about our race that is misleading and that is misleading. That is not true. And people look at that and think that must be true. Right? It's not what we usually do. We look at the race instead of the person. We look at the skin color instead of the heart. And if we stop looking at the skin color and at the race and at the magnificent, if we stop looking at all the things that make up a human being, and just remember that we are all children of God, that He has a plan and a purpose in our life for us, that nothing can define us. If our God is with us, then what can stand against us? And so we need to push back those hypocritical remarks, because it's not who you are, but who you tell yourself you are. And so we see that if we do not love ourselves, we cannot love our neighbors. And if we do not love our neighbors, how can we love God? Because it says in the Bible, how can you hate a brother and sister, but yet say that you love me? Because your brothers and sisters are me. I've created them in my likeness, so they are in fact me. And so how can you say that you do not like them if they are me and I am you? And so we see that God is doing something in our lives. And we're seeing that come to the surface because God is doing something in our lives. And so our defining moment comes when we realize that we are not who people say we are. I'm not who people say I am. People look at our race and think, oh, well, yeah, you better hide your money, hide your kids, lock your doors, hide your grandma, hide your teeth, hide everything because he's coming to steal it. But I've showed them that that's not who I am. That's not who I am. So I want to ask you guys today, who are you? Who are you letting define you? Are you letting you define you? Or are you letting what other people are saying about you define you? Or are you letting what other people think about a certain race, a certain a certain gender, a certain way of life? Are you letting them dictate your life, or are you defining your own? Because I'm not defined by my past. I'm not defined by the things that hold me down, but I'm defined by the things of God. And so since I know God, I can boast in my weakness. Because of my past, I've been made stronger. I'm not defined by my past, but the things in my past make me stronger. You're not defined by your past. Let me clarify. The things that have happened in the past, the things that have happened that you are not proud of, the things that have happened that people hold over your head today, that is not you. That is not you. That's the old you. That's the you of yesterday. That's the you that you've worked so hard to forget. But it's so easy how people will bring up the past. But you need to remember that your past doesn't define you. That criminal record that you have doesn't define you. That blemish on your heart in the past does not define you. That heartbreak that you had doesn't define you. That our past does not define who we are today. If we are letting our past define us, then there's something in our past that's holding us back from seeing God. And there's something in our past holding us back from seeing the glory that God has placed in our lives. And so if we cannot see past our problems, how can we ever become a man of God? Because a man of God needs to see past his problems. A man of God needs to look past. He needs to push away the garbage. He needs to push away the things that are going wrong in his life. And say, you know what? That's not who I am. That is not who I am. That is not whom God has defined me to be. That is not who my God wants me to be. And so, what it truly means to be a man is not being defined by your past, but it's embracing your future. It's embracing your future. And I know I've said that we aren't guaranteed a future. We aren't even guaranteed a tomorrow. We're only guaranteed today. But make today the best day. And if you get it tomorrow, make that a best day. And if you get another tomorrow, and another one, and another one, make each of those days count. Because we only have a short time on this earth. We only have a short time to make a difference. We only have a short time before God calls us all home and he says, you know what, I'm going to have to judge you now. But we have a short time. Are we going to let our past define us? Are we going to let our past define us? Or are we going to look towards the future? And so I'm asking you guys today, anyone who's listening, you might be a new time listener. You might be an old time listener. You might be just someone who has stumbled upon this podcast by accident. You are not an accident. But are you letting your past define who you are today? Are you letting your past define who you are today? Are you letting the remarks of this world, remarks of people, remarks of the media define who you want to be? Or are you letting God define you? Because when God defines us, he defines us in such a way that it's above our understanding. It's above our knowledge. He defines us in such a way that is beautiful, that is handsome. Not like the world, because the world will put us down. The world will look into our past and say, oh, yeah, remember when you robbed that bank on 35th and 9th? Yeah. Or remember when you slept with that person and you did that thing and you talked badly about this person, and the world will put us down. But we do not let our choices define us, but we let the choices of God define us. And so do not let your past define you, but look towards the future. If I speak with human eloquence and angelic ecstasy, but I don't love. And so that's the second part today. You need to love the people around you. Love the people who hurt you. Because as God was going up into heaven, and he was talking to all of his disciples and all these people, he said, I'm going up into heaven. I'm going up into a place where you cannot see. And you will carry on my work. But those who persecuted me will prosecute you. Those who have condemned me will condemn you also. But go into the world and teach what I have taught to you. Go out into the world and do what I have taught to you. I have called you to love. So love. But if you do not love, you are bankrupt. If you do not love, you are empty. If you do not love or receive love, you will start to feel hollow inside. And so that's also why so many people have an issue with race, have an issue with genders, have an issue with just the world in general. Because the world can be an unforgiving place. It can be like after Christmas. Before Christmas, everything's white snow and everything's jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to rise on one old slip and slide. Everything's nice and Christmassy, and people are like, oh my gosh, snow, it's so great. And then after Christmas passes, about a week or two, or even 3 for most people, after Christmas passes, guess what? It's nothing but snow and cold and gray, and it's just cold and miserable. And that's often how the world will seem. The world might seem like it's a perfect place. It might seem like jingle bells all the way up until Christmas, and then after that, the world will put us down. But guess what? When we have Christ in our heart, and we have the love of God, we have the passion of God, we have the enthusiasm of God, we have God in our life, guess what? It's no longer cold and bleak, but it's a nice summer day. Because we have the love of God in our hearts. We have the love and compassion and mercy and grace that He has poured out onto us today. But it's only there if we believe it and we take a hold of it. Because if we do not take a hold of it, we will never see His glory. We will never see His glory if we do not take a hold of His majesty. We will never see His glory if you do not take hold of His word, take hold of His love. Because He says, I will love all those. I love all those who are in me. I love all those who have died for me. I love my enemies, even though they might not love me. And evidence of this is when Jesus was dying on the cross. And He looked up in heaven, He said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Why would He say something like that? Why would the Son of Man, the Son of God, say something like that? Because when He was dangling on that cross, He wasn't thinking of, oh my gosh, when can I get down off this thing? He wasn't thinking, you know what? All I gotta do is snap my fingers, and this will be all over. All I gotta do is snap my fingers. All I gotta do is speak it, and it will be. But He was thinking of all of us. He was thinking of all of us. He said, you know what? I'm willing to die for all these people. Not only for the sins that they have done, but the sins that they will do. I'm willing to die for the people who do not love me. And I'm willing to die for the people who love me, so that they can all experience the love that I have to share. That I have to share with you in your life. So some of us today need the love of God, because He poured out His love. He poured out His love on the cross. And He said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Even if they don't love me, even if they don't understand, even if they don't want to understand, even if people have been telling him, no, he's no good, he's not cool, I'm going to love you guys. I'm going to love you guys to the best of my abilities. And so He went to the cross and He died for us. And He rose again 3 days later and gave us the Holy Spirit. And as He was walking out of that grave, He said, this is what it truly means to be a man. It's what it truly means to be a man. It's not being defined by your past, but embracing the future. But embracing the future with love and gladness in my heart. So sin, you might be able to take a hold of us for a little while. You might give us a good show for a little while. It might be all jingle bells up into Christmas. But you will never take our joy. You will never take our happiness. The devil cannot steal what is not freely given. So sin, that's where you're going to stay. You're going to stay in this tomb. You're going to stay in this tomb because I have died for them. And I did it, not because I had to. Not because I wanted to. But because I loved them so much that I was willing to die for them. And it says in John 3:16, for God so loved the world. Or in a different translation, in the Chris translation, for God so loved you. For God so loved you. Or in the Judah Smith version, God so loved that he gave. That's it. He just gave. Without any explanation, without any background check, without putting down a deposit in money or anything. He just gave. He just gave freely. It was like, oh, great, thanks. But he gave. Because he loved each and every single one of us. So the devil cannot take our joy. The devil cannot steal what is not freely given. So do not give the devil your joy. Do not give him your happiness. Do not give him your love. Do not let him define you. Because you are not defined by your past, but you are defined by your actions. You are defined by the present. So often, people will say, well, it's just who I am. I was raised this way. That's just who I am. My parents used to treat me badly. This is just who I am. I saw this on the news. It's just who I am. I'm a jerk because someone in my family was a jerk. That's just who I am. But are you going to let your family or your friends or the things that you see on the news or the people around you define who you're going to be? Or are you going to take a stand and say, you know what, I'm not going to be defined by these principles. I'm not going to be defined by the things that are in my past. I'm not going to be defined by the things that hold me down, but I'm going to be defined. I'm going to be defined by a Heavenly Father, a Father who loved me so much that He gave His only Son, that for anyone who believes in Him shall not perish but have everlasting life. So I want to ask you guys today, are you going to be defined by what other people say about you? Or are you going to be defined by what God says? Because God says you're going to be a fisher. You're going to be a fisherman. But not just any ordinary fisherman. But you're going to be a fisherman of men. He's saying to you guys today, this is what it truly means to be a man. Is looking at the world, as dark as it is, and shine just a little bit of light. Because with that little bit of light, the darkness disappears. The darkness evaporates. Why? Because the darkness cannot hold a candle to the light that you have inside of you. So some of you today might be thinking still, that's so great and all, but I don't have any light inside of me. Nothing inside of me but darkness. And that's simply not true. We all have light inside of us. We just need to look deep enough. We just need to believe in a God who has big dreams, bigger plans. We need to believe in a God who died for us and who said that we are children of God. A God who says that He has prepared a place for us in paradise. A God who says, you know what? It doesn't matter how far you run. It doesn't matter how many sins you commit. I will always love you. I will always be there for you. Even if you stab me, even if you whip me, even if you try to kill me, I will always love you. Even if you prosecute me, I will always love you. So some of us today need to remember that our past doesn't define us, and that the love of God sustains us through every difficulty and every challenge. We are not defined under sin, but we are defined under grace. So I use it in the message series with, what would you guys do? But I know what you guys do. You guys follow God with everything you have in you. And so last week I asked you guys, why do we let other people define us? Yeah, our dogs can define us. Yeah, we can define our favorite football teams, but when it comes to faith, followers, and family members, why do we let others define us? And so this week says, be loved. Yeah, we can love our dogs. Yeah, we can love our favorite football teams, but when it comes to faith, followers, and family members, be loved. And with all that in your head, with all that going around, will you let me pray for all of you tonight? God, you're a gracious God. Lord, we just want to thank you so much for who you are and what you've done. Lord, you have called us to be and do so much more than we're being and doing. Lord, help us to know that we're not defined. We're not defined by our past, but we are defined by our choices. We are defined by the person we want to be today, not the person we used to be, not the person that people keep telling us of who we are, who we should be, but the person that you have called us to be. So, Lord, help us to know that. Lord, I also want to pray to you tonight, Lord. Anyone today who's going through a difficulty or challenge, Lord, that you would invade their hearts, that you would invade their lives, and show them that your love is greater than this world. Lord, break our hearts, for it breaks yours. We just pray this all in your very awesome, your ever glorious name. Amen. If you guys have any questions about today's program, please email me at thegodtalkradio@gmail.com. Give me a like on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, and subscribe to me on YouTube. And with all that said, your host, Chris Marquardt. I'll catch you guys later.